back. So I will get us kicked off. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Marcella Poloski, and I'm ERP-One Sales Coordinator, as well as your host for today's webinar. Before we dive in, I see there's a lot of new faces, so I will give you a quick introduction to ERP-One and who we are. ERP-One is a trusted ERP solutions provider specializing in JD Edwards. Our services include consulting across technical, application, development, and project management areas. We also offer long-term support through staff augmentation and managed services. With over 20 years of experience, our team works as an extension of our clients' teams, delivering a client-centric approach that helps organizations maximize the value of their ERP investment. Today's presentation, Getting the Most Out of Your JD Edwards Orchestrations, will be led by Nick Wilson and Priscilla Saenz. Nick is ERP-One's innovation and technology lead and has been with ERP-One for 15 years, bringing extensive expertise in project management, digital transformation, architecture design and review, as well as upgrade planning and execution. And Priscilla is an experienced applications developer with a strong background in software development and implementation. As part of her role, Priscilla specializes in developing and automating customer business processes by creating orchestrations using JDE Orchestration Studio in conjunction with JDE Enterprise-One. Her work enables businesses to optimize workflows, enhance efficiency, and drive digital transformation. And just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. If you have any questions during the presentation, please drop them in the comment box and we will address them at the Q&A at the very end. And if you do miss anything, don't worry, this is being recorded and we always share the recording afterwards via email. And with that, I will hand it over to Nick and Priscilla to get us started. Thank you for joining and enjoy.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Marcella, and everybody for joining today. It's just like a webinar and a demo to be some technical difficulties, but those are fun as well. As Marcella highlighted there, today we're talking about our orchestration features. And to set the stage a little bit, I will try to quickly overview some of these features and where they fit into, or what the features are and how you can benefit from using them. Part of what we do when explaining orchestrations or implementing some of these solutions for customers are the different roles that you play in the organization. And some of the features are pertinent to JD Edwards developers, SMEs, being able to implement something holistically requires a couple, sometimes different resources or roles that do different things. And so I've highlighted or segregated the features all implementing or using orchestrations, but from the BA's perspective, as well as from the orchestration developer perspective. And again, looking to try to describe what some of those differences are. Excuse me. So looking and utilizing Oracle's description of the different product areas, they highlight three main swim lanes. Those are across the top is the Enterprise-One applications. And when they develop features for applications, those are in the form of ESUs. They get delivered to customers, again, through ESUs, sorry. The bottom row is on the Enterprise-One servers or system administration. And this area of development is primarily around the tool set, or the tool set is a delivery of it, but around the sysadmin features that are a part of that. So certifications, updating, a lot of those components are in the admin area. But for today, for orchestrations, we're focusing on the digital platform. And so that is the area that Oracle has highlighted a lot of the investment in, and where these features we're going to be looking at. And so, again, the first part, as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at the digital platform features, and specifically those for BAs. And so when I say that, and how does it fit into this context, it really means things from the BA perspective are things that we can configure on the glass, some UDOs that are able to be, again, developed or configured, more accurately put, and promoted to other environments, really fall under the extensibility framework within the digital platform. And it leverages, in conjunction with the orchestration developers, this concept of API factory, where we've got APIs available to us that have been developed. They're out there in the E1 world within your organization. But as E1 BAs and solution designers or architects, however your role is, when you're improving or designing that process or flow, you're going to be able to leverage those APIs or these APIs with this extensibility framework. And so, this new approach, by utilizing, the quicker development cycles, by using the Orchestration Studio, we're able to implement these solutions faster. And again, the benefit is, again, quicker time to the end user, lower impact on the overall upgrade and patching. And again, it's kind of speed and ease of use. So with that framework in mind, understanding the what. So what is it that we can do with extensibility framework? So when we get down to the nuts and bolts, it looks like personal forms, grid formats, queries. These are all features you probably are well aware of. And you can change them on the screen themselves. And so looking at a summary here, of the extensibility framework, these are sort of the main headings of things that we can adjust or change. We can move around columns or fields on the screen. We can rename row or form exits, add new ones. We can add buttons to header and detail fields, as well as change some of the tab sequencing. The final components, orchestrations and logic extensions, can also be implemented or hooked into the forms, which can then be used to the BA or solution designer to develop and implement solutions. And again, that's today what we were going to be focused on is what in the BA world can we utilize from a feature perspective to deliver high value solutions. I won't go through this entire timeline on the screen here, but it shows the amount of investment that Oracle has put just into this extensibility framework. And it was, I think, required earlier on to achieve a lot of things, but the development in this area has sort of tailored off, with the exception of the orchestration and the logic extension overlap. And how can we further or hook into JD Edwards in other ways to then provide or deliver solutions in new ways without using a fat client. That's really the end goal. So with that, again, all being said, when we're diving into some new features here, I'm going to highlight a couple that have been really useful from our consulting team with customers in the field, and things that we just use all the time. And I'm sure that if you've used UDOs or orchestrations at all, you'll be familiar with the ability to launch an orchestration from a composed page. And there's a lot of description from Oracle on here, but really the gist of it is enabling orchestrations to be hooked into a composed page in an easy way. And we'll see how we can do that. But the screenshot is on the right there. And that an end user can essentially open or have a composed page on the screen and click a button without opening a form or an actual E1 app, and then launch an orchestration. And so this framework really allows us to do testing really quickly, easily, It allows for customers and users to deliver solutions that are really tailored to what that user is required or requires. And those are looks like things like kiosks or in the warehouse, or again, those are really easily achievable now using this button essentially and no other development. So kind of rolling on a little bit here, but much along the same page here is the ability to, again, do the orchestration, not just from a composed page, but from an E1 form itself. And so again, the big aha moment here is trying to connect or hook orchestrations into existing E1 apps like the P4211 or the P42 or the P01012. The next piece here is the file selector. And again, having orchestrations available on a composed page or from an app, that's awesome. But when you execute that, a lot of times you want to drag and drop a file that's required. And again, now there's a feature to let you do that. That was in release 23 there. One final comment or note here of things that are needing to, so the things that a BA would want to know or understand from a feature perspective, is that you can have the ability to send a message to the end user that's on the web client from an orchestration. And this has, a wide range of uses, certainly, but allows for a more dynamic way of, again, notifying an end user of a problem with the orchestration run. The end user may need to know the result of that orchestration, or if there's a value that's pulled from some external source, it can be displayed there. And again, all of these options can be utilized when you develop your orchestration and then enable, these error pop-ups here, these custom messages. Okay, so when we look at, in practice, right, how can we implement some of these components here? And so stringing together a lot of what I mentioned here, we can develop an E1 page. And so I know it's a little bit small, but when we open up our composed page manager and add a new tile, you can select an orchestration as the type. And when you do that, you then are able to then get a list of orchestrations that you have access to. So as a BA, if there's published or predefined orchestrations that development have created that are approved, they can be utilized. Or if a new one needs to be created, then some specs or something will likely have to be created or developed. From there, you can drag and drop. Once that orchestration is in place, the end user can simply run or click the button and then drag and drop the file right from the composed page or from the form itself. And then they can click OK to run or execute that orchestration. From the end user perspective, once it's completed successfully, they will see or get this message, and then they'll know that it worked properly and that they can go on to the next part of their day, or if they have to call Nick from IT to help troubleshoot that integration. Moving on, or sorry, one last bit here. And again, I added this feature in from the BA perspective because it is one that I always is always used, which is using an array for inputs into an orchestration. And without getting too deep into the technical details, summarized, this feature lets the end user upload a variable amount of header and detail information, like sales orders, where you can have many sales orders at once with a varying amount of line items. That can be uploaded as an array, which is basically like a spreadsheet. So if you have a spreadsheet of orders, you can connect that into the forms and from the composed pages. And again, the part that really unlocks sort of value here is this, previous to especially all these solutions, they were possibilities to do them, but always required some additional development. And now these features really allow the BAs to do more than ever, really. Okay, so now we're on to the second area, which is really the more exciting components. And not just exciting, but a lot of the components that focus in on the Orchestration Studio. And these features again have been growing since the beginning of 9.2 really, and when the Orchestration Studio was released in the earlier days. But the usability of the studio are really where the main feature functionality components are being uplifted. So just like the BA side, where you can now do things easily, much more easier than before. Similarly, with these features, Oracle is allowing orchestration developers to do the same things that they maybe could have done before, but a lot faster now without using some custom development. And so to give a highlight of some of the features, I'm not going to go through them all here, but certainly they've been focusing a lot on, as I mentioned, the usability and integrating features and functionality that it will allow for these solutions, common solutions, to be built faster. And so I'm going to go over just a few of these here, and then I'll hand it over to Priscilla. But from the development perspective, highlighting that you can utilize a scripting framework of your choice. When the Orchestration Studio, utilizes what's called REST services, and these REST services can be, further augmented by, applying custom Java code alongside your orchestration. This is really where we're getting into the deep levels of development, and a BA is not suited, unless they're also a developer, to do some of these tasks. And so what Oracle has done way back in 9.2.5 is allow customers to implement their own JavaScript of their choice. So if they utilize JRuby or Groovy or Jthon, all of these things can be implemented and uploaded. And so that is a great starter point to understanding that of what is possible with the Orchestration Studio. We'll see a small demo about this here, but with release 23, you are able to utilize a CSV file directly with an orchestration. Whereas previously you needed to upload a CSV file to an FTP and then create a connection to pull that file down. And so now this makes life a lot easier in implementing that solutions with those features. Another really development-oriented one is including control information on service exception responses. And this helps with error trapping, error correction, and allowing for automatic remediation of potential common scenarios with integrations or other things as well. Moving on from the development perspective, looking at system values in orchestrations, like the other components here, like the previous feature in terms of error trapping and error correction, having system values available gives designers the ability to apply some dynamic variability to orchestrations. For example, if you need to have a different endpoint or utilize a different resource for DV versus PY versus prod in the testing versus production environments, you can configure that with these system values now. Again, they're listed here, but how they can be implemented is in a wide use. And then here's the last two features that are, again, really useful in the world of designing orchestrations. and that is reordering the inputs of orchestrations, and specifically about integrations. They're really useful in that you can take a CSV file where you are unable to change the order of the columns, or that you make them a little bit more readable from the end user perspective. You can have those columns being reordered or ordered more accurately to be suited with the system that's inbound, essentially the target system. Where this is real useful and where we've used it is in integrations, where normally the target system is defining the specs for the data that's inbound into that system, and the source system or some middleware is required to then conform if there's any adjustments needed. And so with this solution, what JD Edwards lets you do if it's the source system, or sorry, if it's the target system, is that it allows you to then conform to whatever the source system has outlined. And again, this is a small, feature, but one that, we've run into often as well. So with the last few minutes here, I'm going to hand it over to Priscilla, where she will give an overview. And then if you have any questions, please let us know here. But the scenarios that she'll show some of these features is with an orchestration that we've developed for a customer, where we needed to upload, it was a POC actually, where we needed to upload a journal entry that was over 35,000 lines. So one journal entry with a large amount of lines included, and we utilized some of these features that we highlighted. Beyond that, I've put some of the use case problem and the different solutions that we provided the customer here. I'm not going to go through all of this now because we were a little late initially. I apologize for that, but I will now hand it over to Priscilla, if you are ready to go, to then show us the demo.
Hi, Nick. Sure. I'm gonna share right now my screen.
I can see it.
Yeah, you can see that. Okay, I'm gonna minimize here. As Nick said, I will give you just an overview. This is the Orchestrated Studio that we use to develop different orchestrations to automate business processes. I'm gonna show you as an example the orchestration that we use to upload the 1,000 of records from a CSV file. Oh, sure. Sorry. I'm gonna just give it a second. That we use to upload the information from a CSV file to the JD system. This orchestration is split in two, let's say, processes. One process is about getting the information from the CSV file. So in the previous releases, we used to have or use FTP folders or custom scripts to get the information from the CSV files or other flat files. Right now, with this latest release, now we can configure the custom request as a CSV file. We are going to be entering each of the columns that is defined in that CSV file and mapped those columns with the orchestration variables. So as you see on the left, these are the columns from the CSV file, and on the right, you will see the variables that we use as input values in the next process, that is inserting the data into the JDE. Once we have this information mapped column to orchestration, we use the second process that is inserting the data. We mapped this information through the previous step, right? And in this step, we are going to be creating the journal entry records. The second feature is about returning the system values in orchestration outputs and assertions. So once the developer has this information mapped, right, with the values that also needs to be mapped to this service request, the orchestrator developer also has now the ability to enable the different system values that will be required to, I don't know, to link this with external systems, or also will be essential for debugging and auditing. So enabling these system values will help you to trace which user run the orchestration, what environment it running, and the specific orchestration involved as well. So this was not in the previous release. You were not able to do or enable these system values. You needed to do some extra steps in order to get the information. But now with this release, you are able to handle it easy, any values from the system. The last feature that Nick was talking about is reordering the orchestration inputs. These features lets the developer reorder the inputs to make them appear in a logical, readable order, making the integration with other systems smoother. So in the previous releases, this was not available. I mean, like you were able to move these inputs and the place where you wanted to be this input. Now you can do it, and it's helpful for better organizing the input data when working with forms or third-party systems that need specific inputs orders. And is as next and as Nick said, it's better for readability or user interface presentation, either if you use the form extensions or the compost page. So that's it from my side. I will get back to you, Nick.
Excellent. Thank you, Priscilla. And we made it with just enough time. So I will hand it over to Marcella. I don't know if we needed to close it out now, but I can hang on for more questions afterwards if there are any.
Awesome. Thank you, Priscilla and Nick. Let's maybe do one or two questions. The first one is, are all of these features backwards compatible?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so the short answer is no. A lot of these features are not backwards compatible in terms of having being available on older releases. When applying tools upgrades, it is also important to know and understand the UDOs that you have in use in production, especially if they are UDOs that Oracle has delivered. Although they don't normally overwrite or deliver the same object again, certainly it is to know and understand what is being delivered for retrofitting, if there's any to do.
Thank you, Nick. And then one more quick question. When upgrading, do you need to consider retrofitting orchestrations?
Well, that's again a good follow-on question. Certainly, when again, as I mentioned, they're not backwards compatible. But if you've implemented, and maybe this was confusing, but when you implement, tools release, normally there are some ESUs that are delivered that have functionality with, as UDOs. And so, those are technically more around the application side and our functionality within, the business area, really. And so when implementing those, that's certainly, looking at with new Oracle releases, if they've uplifted maybe an old process, it needs to be replaced. And if you've utilized that process, you'll need to do some testing with that new UDO, just like the old way.
Perfect. Thank you, Nick. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I will be sending out a recording of the webinar, so don't worry if you missed anything. And I will also be sending out a post-webinar survey. And as a thank you for completing it, I will send out a Starbucks gift card as a token of our appreciation. If you are interested in directly booking a meeting with us and our CRO, Matt, you can scan the QR code on the screen. And in the meantime, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. We're always sharing helpful tips and tricks and blog posts. And we hope to see you at our next webinar. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.